Hey everyone, welcome back to the FloTrack podcast, flotrackpodcast@gmail.com. I'm Kevin Sully, joined by Gordon Mack, who's fresh off an interview yesterday with Trayvon Bromell. If people have not watched that interview, they can check it out. But I enjoyed it. Gordon listened to the whole thing. He was very candid, very open about his last 4 years, and didn't really mince words when it came time to discuss some of the current goings on in track and field. I give it 5 stars. Well done, sir.
Whoa, 5 stars out of 10? I got 50%. That's pretty good. I appreciate that.
5 for 5, my friend. Good job.
Oh, okay.
And you got to plug some of your old content about how you ran a 40-yard dash against him back in the day. It was good. It was a good episode. I tip my cap to you. Well done.
Yeah, and I take away from the episode is I think he talked about how his 10:04 that he kind of had a lot of work on. He said he didn't have a good finish, didn't have a good start. I think he is going to be a legit contender to make the team in 2021. You don't run 10:04 by accident. You run that with talent. And I think, especially now with Coleman most likely not in the picture, I mean, Lyles will be there, right? And then Gatlin's 39. And then Bromell and I guess you could say Ronnie Baker, right? Is anyone else we're really missing from that group? I mean, Mike Rogers is getting old.
Yeah. He was always there. Mike Rogers is always there.
He's always there. But like, there's like the two guys who made it last year was like they're like the newer guys, the North Carolina AT&T guy.
A&T, not AT&T. You talking about in the 4x1?
Like who made the 100 last year?
Gatlin, Coleman, Mike Rogers, and oh gosh, there must have been a fourth. Must have been a fourth,
it was
right?
North Carolina A&T guy.
Okay, because Crevon Gillespie was on the 4x1. I remember that.
Oh, Christopher Belcher. That's it.
Oh yes, yeah.
Christopher Belcher.
He didn't make the final, but yes, correct.
But I would take Bromell over Belcher right now. Right?
Yeah, I mean, running 10:04 right now in your opener, beating DeGrasse. It clearly, one thing that stood out to me from that interview was how much confidence he has in his current coach, Rana Ryder, and the fact for the first time he's training in a professional training group, one that's geared towards him. And I think we haven't seen that yet. And he's still only 25. The big question is, can he go 12 months injury free? Because if you told me that, if you could guarantee that he was going to be healthy from now until the trials next year, I'd say 100% he's on the team. And it's just crazy to think about the arc of his career just in 5-6 years, like the ups and the downs. It's a whole career's worth of stuff happening to Bromell in one time period. But it was wild to see that result come through over the weekend. And you can't be totally stunned because he's a guy who's run 9.8 and he's a guy who's got a medal. But I did not see that coming at all. Like if you told me the two options were he runs 10:04 or he runs 10:4, I probably would have said 10:4 just based on what we've seen recently. And I'd have said I probably would have still, because I know how good he is, I probably would have talked myself into 10:4. He's healthy. He's got 12 months. He can get back down there. but 10:0, I mean 10:0 is right there. You're right. He doesn't have much farther to go to get to where he's on the team.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of over 4th of July weekend when this result came through, I was kind of getting a little heated debate. I had a little alcohol in me with a fellow colleague who works over at Mile Split. I'll leave him nameless. But I was like, yo, Trayvon runs 10:04. He is like, he's back. And he was like, no, man, you're not back until you run sub 10. I was like, no, that's not true. And so I brought out receipts. And my receipts were, I looked at the season openers for last year's Team USA. Coleman's season opener was 986. So that's Coleman. Justin Gatlin's season opener last year was 10 flat. Christopher Belcher's season opener was 1014. And Mike Rogers' season opener was 1028. So
do I know this person who you were arguing with?
Yeah, I mean you do, because there's only 2 people that work at Mile Split that I would be drinking with. So
I'm gonna
So
need
I
to
think we
talk to
made a
them
bet.
when we get back
We
in.
made a bet that he would make the team, and I think I'm gonna win
I
this bet
mean,
now.
saying you're
So
not back
we'll.
until you run on. I know. I just think that's setting a really high bar if you're saying you're not back until you run under 10 seconds because
That's what I
I
always
think
think.
you can. Yeah, because you can certainly make a U.S. final by running
Yeah.
low tens depending on the year. That's tough. That's a tough standard. I think he's back. I
What?
think even if I hadn't listened to the interview and heard about all the other changes that he's made, I would say he's back. I mean, he's beating an Olympic and World Championship medalist. He wasn't in the same heat as Lyles, but running on the same track, the wind was different. He's at least in the same conversation with a guy who is definitely top 3 in the US right now in Lyles. Probably top 2 in the
And
world right now.
I saw the race videos. The conditions weren't great. It was like rain on the track.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like it was
Yeah.
like perfect
Mm-hmm.
conditions. So
Yeah.
anyway,
On today's show, we got a lot to talk about, Gordon. We got
we
the
do.
inspiration games. We got the inspiration games tomorrow. I'm in the process of writing the preview about that. So we can touch on that briefly. But then I also want to talk about Usain Bolt's daughter, her name, which is getting a lot of attention, and a rumor. I don't know if it's a rumor or speculation, or maybe by the time we post this episode, it's fact about what they're going to do with cross country in the NCAA system because of the chances that football will move to the spring. But let's start first with the inspiration games, shall we? I'm guessing for you, this is all about just seeing how fast Lyles can run a 200 by himself as the headliner.
I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, he kind of seeing that he run what 9. He ran 9.9 when dated.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
On July 4th. I think he's gonna end up running probably like 19.9 by himself.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's gonna be running like 19.5s, 19.7s type runs. I think it's just gonna be a strut out there and run a sub 20. That's what I think is gonna happen. As for the entertainment value of it, I mean, it'll be nice to see. It's fun seeing people run fast. That's why we work here at Flow. That's why track is a sport because we enjoy watching it. But it's not going to be the thrilling excitement that like a Diamond League race between Michael Norman and Noah Lyles in a 200 would bring. Unfortunately, I'm not
And
going to be that inspired. That's what I guess. Yeah.
Well, it's an odd bit of timing, right? Because we just saw races involving people on the same track. So then we're moving
Yeah.
back to a virtual competition. We're going in the opposite direction. It'd be one thing if we hadn't seen Lyles line up on the same track as Gatlin or seen Bromell and DeGrasse or seen Shawnee Miller, Weibo run against people. But we've already seen that now in 2020. And now we're going back to the virtual competition. Some of these races do have everybody on the same track, like the men's 100-yard, which I know you've circled on your calendar with DeGrasse, Omar McLeod, and Jimmy Vico. They're all in the same spot. Like all 3 of those people are going to be racing in Florida. So that's just a basic, simple, straight up track race. But Lyles runs a lot of 200s by himself, even when there's other people in the race. You know what I mean? Like, so how different will this be? And we've just seen, right? This is the year of the time trial. We've seen how fast people can run with no crowds, right? And without many races under their belt. So I think anything under 20 would be super impressive. So 9.9, I don't think is an unrealistic pick. But I mean, looking at how fast everybody else is running, don't you think he could do something? I'm not saying he's going to run a PR, but I mean, would it surprise you if he dropped a 9.7 if the conditions are good?
It would not surprise me, but I also think though he's going to run it cautiously. That's what I think. I just think there's always going to be that mental factor of, hey, this isn't something to get hurt over, right?
Yeah.
The inspiration games are not what you peak for. So I think coach is probably going to say to him like, hey, run well, run hard, but don't like take it easy. Like you don't overstrain. And I just feel like the mental of I think he might. Maybe he'll cruise to like a 19.8 or something like that because he's just that good. But I just don't
Yeah.
think he's going to be like getting the blocks and be like, wait till people see this. I think he's
Hmm.
going to be like getting the blocks, and I'm going to show you my talent. But I don't think he's going to like dunk on the world with his talent. I think he's going to do a layup.
Okay.
He's going to do a layup, but not like a 360 dunk.
Okay. Well, it is July though, and they are fit. And he just ran 993. Yes, it was wind aided. He ran all the way through the line though. I saw the video, so he was going pretty hard at the showdown in O-Town. I don't know. I'm not going to put a cap on him, especially based on what we've seen other people do. You got the 150 there with Shauna Miller-Weibo, Allison Felix, and Kambuji. You got the 3x100. What do you think the winning time is going to be for that women's 3x100? Have you charted that out yet? Do you have a number in mind?
No, but do you think Allison Felix finishes last?
Yeah, she's going against the bronze medalist in the 200, and the other person in there is Shauna Miller-Weibo, who's not going to lose this race. I would say she's the underdog for sure. But we get to see the new Mount Sac because she's going to be running at Mount Sac. Stefanidi's going to be vaulting at Mount Sac, I believe. I know Muhammad was going to run the 300 hurdles at Mount Sac, but she's pulled out, so she's not in the 300 meter hurdle race. But I'm just excited to see what the new Mount Sac looks like after having the trials and then not having the trials and not having a stadium and then having a stadium. It's been a whirlwind for them too.
Is USATF still, or USOC, whoever's in charge, they're still holding on to the idea that we needed to take away the trials from Mount Sac because they weren't going to have a track?
It's going to be a weird thing to tell people in 20 years. The Mount Sac historian is going to have a hard time explaining that to people. Like, wait a minute, you guys had the Olympic trials and then what happened? Oh, they took it away because there was a lawsuit over construction. Okay, and then what happened? Now we built the stadium a year in advance. Oh, because the pandemic, you had extra time to do it? Like, no, we would have been ready for the original time. Everything was done literally on time. There was no problems at all. In fact, it was probably built before Hayward was. It was renovated
Like
before Hayward was.
it's the elephant in the room, right? That they clearly made up a reason because they just wanted to give it to the brand new fancy Eugene Stadium, right?
I mean, I think that's what most people assume.
Yeah,
You've been to Mount Sac, right? I like Mount Sac.
yeah.
It's a cool, yeah. It's a
They got
cool
great
area.
fish tacos.
I mean, spectacular food out there in Southern California. Obviously, the historic cross country course that's right there. I think it'll be a great venue. I just don't know when. I guess people assume the 2028 Olympics, since they're in LA, that's where they would put the trials. But also, they might want to do the trials in the actual Olympic stadium, like they did in '84 and like they did in '96. You probably would want to get a test run on the actual venue, and that wouldn't be it. But I don't know. How far out have they even awarded USAs that far out? Or are we doing this just on a year by year basis?
No, there's never going to be another USA's awarded not to Eugene. There's no point. They're going to be like, why would we not have it here? Eugene's
That's
going to have
tough
it
though.
forever.
That's tough though for Mount Sac because the facility is going to be great. The weather's good. A lot of athletes that are local.
They're going to give Mount Sac to off-year USAs. They're going to be the new Drake, or the
Yeah.
new. They'll be the new Sacramento. They're going to be the new Sacramento State. So I think they're going to get when's the next off-year championship? I don't even know.
26.
We're all shifted. 26 is that the next off year?
Mm-hmm. Unless they move things further, but yeah, 26 would be the next off year.
Really? Wait. 22.
Yeah, we got 5 years in a row of championships.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be good. Yeah. Don't leave track now. If you're in on track, stay on track because it's going to get good. You got 21 in Tokyo, 22 in Eugene, 23 is a World Championships, Budapest, I believe. 24 is going to be the Paris Olympics. 25 they haven't given it yet, but I believe Kenya is bidding, and there might be a couple bids from Africa, and then 26 would be the off year. So you have 5 in a row.
That's nice.
It's going to be great. We're finally going to get to see. We're going to test that theory about having 4 major championships in a row just too much. Can't do it. Need an off year. Too much. Too many medals.
Can't do it. That's wild. Yeah, so they're probably gonna get the 2026 USAs. That's what Mount Sac, and they'll be like, they're gonna pretend like this never happened. It's stupid. I'm
Construction.
sorry. Yeah.
All right, tell me about what you think. Let's put aside the thoughts on the pandemic, but let's just tell me what you think is going to happen with fall cross country, and if it does get moved like football, how that is going to be managed if we have spring track and cross country going on simultaneously.
So I guess first we should kind of enlighten viewers. Today is July 8th. It's
Yes.
currently 9:20 in the morning, but today the Ivy League is going to is likely to make an announcement that they're going to push all fall sports to the spring. Mainly football, but all the fall sports just go along with it, because if they're going to push football, they're going to push soccer, cross country, all that stuff. They're supposed to make that announcement today. And so with that announcement, you think, okay, what does that mean? All right. Would that just mean that all the Ivy League schools don't get to participate in NCAA cross in the fall, and then just in the spring they have their own little one-off Ivy League championship? I feel like that would be the best case scenario, right, for our sport. Is that just, yeah, it sucks we don't get those 8 Ivy League schools in it,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
get to have their own little like kind of fake championship in the spring between Penn relays and Mount Sac relays. Just have a little cross country meet. That's what I think is the most ideal situation if this happens. I did start texting a bunch of coaches, cross country coaches, to kind of see like, hey, what do you think is going to happen? A lot of them were saying that it means nothing until a Power 5 school does something, or Power 5 conference, because Ivy League football is not really in the same financial situation as collegiate, Power 5 collegiates. But I mean, I talked to an Ivy League coach, and an Ivy League coach said it probably is going to happen. Like, it's going to move to spring. Like, he says, I imagine everything will be moved to the spring. So there is one of the Ivy League coaches is thinking this is happening. Most coaches saying, yes, we think the ball is going to get rolled. I think what's going to happen is I think they're going to end up I think the Power 5 are going to hold on until the very last minute. And I think that as of right now, I think there's going to be a cross country meet in the spring for Ivy League. That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay, but let's consider two things. One, the more secure play right now, and this isn't me figuring this out. I heard smart people talking about this in terms of a revenue perspective, would be to move football to the spring, just because there's just more stability around it. You can guarantee that the whole season is going to play out, right? So that's one thing.
But can you?
Two, I mean, you can't guarantee
Why
it,
do
but
we think? But the thing is, I just think we think, oh, everything's gonna be normal in the spring. That's what we said. Everything will be normal in the fall when we were in March, and we're like, oh no, now everything's. It's like we're just gonna continue
you
to
and
kick
I
the can
thought
down the
that
road.
maybe.
But
No,
society, or I think people are always gonna say, like, I mean, this is a controversial take, but I feel like there's never gonna be a reason to start up, because there's always gonna be we always are going to live in a world with risk, right? Yes, the risk was a lot higher in March, but I feel like the risk is always going to exist,
My point in bringing that up wasn't to argue about risk and the human condition. My point of bringing it up was to say the people involved in the money, and this is a money decision, I think are making that calculus. Whether it's right or whether it's wrong, that's just what they're saying, right? That's one factor. Second factor is we can't forget the spring, right? Which conference was the first conference to pull out of the basketball tournament, right?
Ivy League, yeah.
Right. Who was the first school in our world of track and field? Who was the first school to pull out of the indoor championships?
It's Harvard. Yeah.
Harvard, right? So it's not crazy to think that they're going to make this move and then there's going to be a bit of a domino effect. What I want to know, because you have the power of imagination, if it does end up moving everything to this spring, right? Because this is a football decision.
Yeah.
And basketball is there as well too, but this is a football decision. The fact that they would pile cross country and the same season of track would not be at the top of the NCAA's priority list. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, it'll be the only sport. Like cross country is the only sport where the athletes also compete in the spring, right? Because there's no football cross country, like
Track
football,
and football.
basketball. I mean, there's a little bit of track and football, but
sprint times are going to get slower. Yeah.
There's
okay.
Most sports only have one season. Track and field is a sport that has 3 seasons. So,
what will it look like if this happens? If in a week we're doing another podcast and they've decided to move football and the cross country to spring, what's this going to look like? What's going to happen? How are they going to deal with it? Or should we just wait until a week and then talk about it then?
I think what they're going to have to do is they're going to probably have to. Man, I don't even know. Do you think they would just have?
Would you be allowed to compete in both at the same time?
Well, how many meets across country do you need? Right? They'll probably just have. No, you could do it. You just need 3, right? Technically.
Oh, you're saying do cross country in the beginning of the spring?
Well, you just need 3 races, right? You just need conferences, regionals, and nationals, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, and you separate them. So you need a 1, 2, but regionals and nationals are 1 week apart. So you need 3 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need 3-week gap. You need a 3-week segment. So you probably would put that 3-week segment be in April, right?
And then roll right into outdoor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, outdoor is still happening for like sprinters, but all the distance runners are going to get their marks. Maybe what they'll do is they'll allow distance marks for outdoor track to be qualified for indoors. So like if you want a fast mile indoors, you can use that time to qualify yourself for the 1500 at prelims. Because basically you're taking out, this is what I think they'll do. They'll take out the month of April and they'll say, distance runners, the month of April is your cross country season. You don't need to do track. Sprinters, jumpers, keep on doing track, still go to Mount Sac and go to all the sprint meets or whatever. But cross country, you're going to have your cross country season in April. And because we took out 4 weeks of opportunities to run track, you can use your indoor marks to qualify you for outdoor prelims or outdoor conferences, whatever. So that's what I think they'll do. So then but then here's the thing. Conferences happens, right? And you crown conference championships, and then regionals happen. The question is, how do you go from regional to national, right? You take the top 2, right? So that's 18. So then how do we take the at-large teams? That is where I don't know. That's where it becomes questionable.
Well,
maybe what they do is they say, hey, maybe we don't have 8, 9 regionals and we have maybe like 5 and everyone is invited if they want to come. And then we just take a hard cap. Like it's 6 per region. If you're top 6, you're in. So the 7th place team in your region won't go. And yes, you could say it's unfair, but we're living in weird times. And to complain about the 7th place team in a region not being able to go to NCAAs in April is like, okay, guys, it's cross country in April. Who cares? Let's just do it. So that's probably what they'll do. I think it'd be kind of cool to have cross country in April.
What if indoor? There's no indoor though. Then too, I guess you got to throw that in as a possibility in terms of if you're looking at qualifying times. It's a strange thing to worry about with football though. It's an easy thing to push back because it stays within the same school year, right? It's not like because a lot of the headaches with the spring sports was now we got to bring them back for another year. And we got to figure out all the stuff with scholarships and grad school, and people are going to want to leave and transfer. Now there are some athletes who are probably planning on graduating after the winter semester, and it impacts them. But by and large, the majority of people finish up in the spring, so it keeps it in the same academic year. would you have a cross country championship? If you could only do one thing, if you could either have cross country or distance races indoors, you'd take cross country, right?
Yeah. But I don't think they would need to do that. I really think my idea that I came up with literally on the spot right now is like the perfect idea. You have indoor
Okay.
season where the indoor marks can count towards qualifying and distance events for outdoor.
Mhm.
April is cross country month where you have conferences the first week of April, then a 2-week break, and then you have regionals, the nationals. You make it so it's like a hard cap, like no at large bids, just top 3 or top 4 in each region. Boom. And then May is outdoor season. And if you don't have a mark, you have the first half of May to get a mark. And maybe they'll say, like, hey, the top 40, if you finish top 40 at the cross country nationals, that counts as a
Right.
10K mark or something like that. You know, they'll find a weird way to do something like that. But, and then that's how you do it. So your season would be you run indoor, you run it, and then you have 2 weeks off, and then you go into cross country season, and then you have like 2 weeks off, and then it's outdoor season.
That's a lot of 10Ks on the men's side of things. It's a lot of
Well,
10Ks.
come on, they could. These
just
guys run
kidding.
100-mile weeks. They can run 10K.
I'm just kidding. I just think you're going to see a lot of very cautious coaches and a lot of redshirting going on there. Like, oh yeah, my spring cross country season and my spring.
But
Could you
like,
run? You could redshirt one and not the other, right? Like I'm redshirting in track, but I'm using my cross country eligibility, or vice versa. Be very confusing.
yeah, I'm sure they'll probably have weird rules for it. But I mean, they're who would have an advantage in this situation?
I think the power teams, the teams with just tremendous depth. So on the men's side, you're looking at schools like BYU and NAU, and on the women's side, Stanford would be particularly strong
But
because you have a lot
would
of.
there? But
Hmm?
there wouldn't be any like, because cross country is in the spring. All of a sudden, this team that wouldn't have been good in the fall is now good. Like, right?
No, I'm thinking about it more from the perspective of like, okay, say the back half of your cross country lineup has a lot of people who are good in track that you maybe don't want to burn them out. You have some steeplers or something like that, and you could pop in uh, somebody deeper on your bench and still get the win in cross country or still finish where you need to finish in cross country without having to disrupt that person's season. And then they can just take a redshirt year and start fresh. I mean, if you're an injury prone athlete, you're staying away from this with a 10-foot pole
Yeah.
at this
Okay,
point.
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's why I think, and we've always joked about last year, right? Lincoln, I think, wrote that article about BYU's second 7 could have been a top 10 team. I mean, well, now you could
Yeah.
actually see it. You could actually see that. Like maybe they just because maybe, I mean, if you're someone like Connor Mance, right, or if you're someone like who's good on NAU, you follow the team a little bit every now and then, right? You check in on the
Louis
roster. Like,
Grijalva.
yeah, yeah. Like Grohoff is going to want to run the Olympic trials next year, right?
Yeah.
Connor Mance is going to want to run the Olympic trials next year, right?
Yeah.
Are they going to want to do a full cross country season, or not a full, an abbreviated cross country season in April, and then do the MAC proposal for the rest of these months, and then try to go to the Olympic trials? I mean, I think a lot of them might just make the calculus of like, let's pull some guys or some women up off the bench, fill these roles in, just see how good we can do in this weird spring cross country season, and let's just keep them focused on track because that's how we've always done it. I think you could see some of that.
Yeah. I keep on refreshing my
Better
my
post this up quick before it goes out of date. Alon, you need to get this up as soon as possible because Gordon and I are going to sound silly. I think, well, on the women's side, I mean, I think someone like Wayne Kaladi would, I mean, kind of plays to her strength. Just keep rolling, man. Just keep crush all those 6Ks, go out to track, win win everything. I mean, think how many titles you could rack up in just a short period of time. It's going to be a unique challenge, but I just think we were wrong in spring, so I want to have some humility here when we were like, "Well, Harvard, what are they doing?" And then then Rudy Gobert tests positive, and then the whole world changes. So I'm
Yeah.
opening up. I want to be open to the possibility that um, Ivy League will be the first one through the door, not the last one.
Yeah. Also, I think Ivy League likes to get on their high horse and be like, "Look at us, we're first." They like they like having that mantra to their name.
Kind of reminds me of Johns Hopkins and their alumni.
Hey, Johns Hopkins
Hey,
did something. They
they were
canceled.
early too. They were early too, right?
Well, we just canceled this. We canceled September.
No, I meant in the indoor season, right? They canceled something. They canceled like hosting. Was it the basketball tournament or something? They did something relatively early too.
Oh,
I feel
okay.
like.
Well, I know
You
our
went
cross
there.
country team canceled. I don't know. They ask for money. I just hang up. I see the 410 area code and I don't pick up. That's all that happens. 410, don't pick up.
I've done the
There could
same
be
with
someone
5.1.
dying. There could be someone dying or about to offer me $1 billion. But if they have a 410 code, one area code, I'm not going to know about it.
Well,
It's what it
that's why
is.
you got to memorize the first 3 letters after the area code, the university extension. That's what I've done for Oregon. So 541 and
Oh.
then the next 3, which I think is 221. I just yeah, that goes. They've
Well, I
stopped
know.
calling
Yeah,
me
I
though.
know it's 410 512. That I know that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, just stay away from 410 512. But I think anyway. Yeah, Johns Hopkins cross country is canceled September, so that's I know that for they canceled September.
Right, and if remember before, schools were saying, "Hey, there's not going to be sports if there's not on-campus classes." If they hold that line, then there'll be other schools that don't do
But you could
fall
argue
sports.
that like not having on campus classes is perfect for a safely way of having sports. If the only people
Yeah,
on campus are athletes, then like
yeah,
it's a lot harder to
yeah, yeah.
spread because it's only athletes, and that's what you
No, I
want,
agree.
right? You only want, yeah. It's a
Oh,
bubble.
yes,
It's
of
like
course.
an Orlando bubble.
Hmm. The fewer people, the better. Certainly, I'm just saying that's what the NCAA people said in the beginning because sports are tied to school in this way, and that's just how they've
Yeah.
done it. I wanted to go back for a little bit and talk about FloTrack for a second because I saw something that made me mad, Gordon,
Ooh.
and it's
Well, this is
there's an
this will make you
there's an
very mad.
article about Shawnee Miller-Weibo, and it said she tried to petition to change the schedule so she could do the 2 and the 4 in the Olympics, and they're not going to let her. So she might end up just running the 200 instead of the 400. So Nick Siccardi of NBC dug into this and got the actual statement here about changing the schedule, and I just want to read it to you right now, which says this: with the introduction, basically the TLDR is the schedule's final. They're not changing it. Okay, but I'll do the full version here. With the introduction of the 4x400-meter mixed relay to the competition program in Tokyo, this has added to the complexities of developing the timetable. Following this request, we once again reviewed all the different possibilities. While it may look simple to move one race to a time which would allow increased rest time between the 200 and 400, there's a knock-on effect with other events which are then impacted. Following the review of various scenarios, we concluded that the current timetable provides the best opportunity for a 200-400 doubling opportunity without adversely affecting the other events. The current timetable does allow the possibility to compete in both the 200 and 400, although we do acknowledge this requires racing twice in the same day on one occasion. Having taken that into consideration, we have tried to allow the maximum time in between the events, which results in almost 12 hours on that particular day. So they're basically saying they did the best they could, but they can't separate them anymore. I think in a 10-day track meet, you have to work the schedule out so people can actually do the double. 100 200 double should be possible. The 2 4, 4 8, 8 5, 8 15, 15 5, 5 10, right? Every double with one distance up should be available in a 10-day program. There's no reason why that shouldn't be the case. And they're bringing up the 4x4 mixed relay here as a complicating factor. That should not be in the equation at all. We should not be in a position in track and field to where we need to choose between Shawnee Miller-Weibo going for a historic double and watching the third best 4x4 of a competition, which is what the mixed gender 4x4 relay is. Throw that at the end of the meet, throw that on the first day, whatever, discard it. It should not factor in to watching potential hits. Ridiculous.
Yeah, you broke up you broke up a bit there at the end of your little rant. I agree. The
I just
whole
said it was
I mean,
ridiculous.
Carl
It's
Lewis
ridiculous. It's
Car-
come on.
Carl Lewis says it best. The mixed 4x4 is a clown show. It is. It's not a real event. It's a fake event. It is a way, no one wants to say it, it's a way to give fake medals to certain individuals to say that they're all-time medalists. That it's like it's not real. It's like no one is trying to find out who has the best two men and women compete at the same time. And it's not even the best two. Like USA puts like their 8th and 12th best man and their
Yeah.
3rd and 9th best woman, and they put them together and they're like, oh, look at this. We're broke a world record. It's not real. They
Yeah.
I also just think like, all right, you have the 100 and the 400, right? The If you're a 100-meter runner or a 400-meter runner, you have to be one of the best 6 to be a 100-meter runner to go to Olympics, or now you have to be one of the best 8 400-meter runners to go to Olympics. Whereas if you're a miler, you have to be one of the best 3, right? There's no like,
Yeah.
it's just like, do we really need to be sending 8 400-meter runners to the Olympics?
We don't need the
Like,
event. We don't need the event, and we
we don't,
especially don't
yeah.
need the event if it's clogging up. If they're saying the schedule is too crowded to where we can't make a 200 400 double possible when you have 10 days of competition and you can't separate the events completely. And you see this with other events too, right? We were talking before about the 15-5 double and whether or not it's possible at the Olympics for the women, and there are events other doubling opportunities that are made complicated. And if that is complicated, even 1% by the fact that we have to have a mixed gender 4x4 relay, we should get rid of the mixed gender 4x4 relay because, again,
I mean, yeah,
it
all
is
you got
not
to
a real
do
event.
is you got to put the 100, the 400, the 1500, and the 10K
10,000. Yep, on the first 4 days, 5 days.
in
Yep,
the first
yep.
4 days, and then the 200, 800,
yeah, split up the high hurdles.
5K,
Yep,
and split the high. Boom, done.
steeple,
Why?
but
Why is it that?
steeple or
Why is it that
some.
complicated?
We've come up with schedules before that make it work, and again, World Athletics at
Bureaucracy.
some point, well, they thought that this is going to capture the imagination of the youth of America or the world by having a 4x4 relay that looks like field day. And it's not. That's not what people want to see. People want to see Shawnee Miller-Weibo or other great athletes, Wade Van Niekerk, Allison Felix, back when she wanted to do it in 2016. They want to see them go for doubles, to not just appear once over the portion of the Olympics, but run
Yeah, we
as
want to see
much
Michael
as is.
Norman race Noah Lyles
Yeah.
in the
Yes.
200.
Yes. Yes. Instead, we're getting to see the third best 4x4. So this is crazy. This has always been crazy. It's should be simple. I remember when Allison Felix had to go through all this stuff to get the schedule changed in 16. She didn't end up making the team in the 200, so it didn't really matter. But even the fact that she had to petition and go through all this trouble to get a schedule that just makes sense is crazy. And now we have the mixed 4x4 to blame it on. Okay, well, here's an idea. Why don't you move the mixed 4x4 out of the program entirely? Let's just keep bumping that out until it's 3 weeks later in Oslo or something like that. They can run it. You can
Well,
meet them
the thing is,
world relays, whatever. Run it then. This is so crazy.
no one
to
wants
me.
to admit that the mixed relay is a bad idea because they were so like, this is such a great idea, and if they like a year in or 2 years in, they're like, they admit it was a bad idea, it makes them look bad, so they kind of gotta die on this
Look,
horse on this
Hill.
hill. Die
If
on this
they could have
horse.
figured out, if they could figure out a way to make the mixed gender 4x4 relay be in the meet and still have all these doubles, fine, whatever, do it. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It's just one more race or 2 more races when you're including the rounds, right? I don't care. But if you're saying that's the reason why we can't watch history, that's the reason why we can't watch one of the greatest athletes of the current era try to go for a 200 400 double, yeah, then it's got to go. Then you got to make that sacrifice. Then you got to say, hey, third best 4x4 in this meet, you don't belong. Move out of the way. I want to watch a 200, 400 double, or I want to watch someone attempt a 400, 800 double, or whatever it is. If it's causing any sort of logjam to the schedule, that should be the first thing that's cut. And Shawnee Miller-Weibo, at this point in her career, deserves the opportunity to try to get the 200, 400 double, just like Allison Felix did, just like you're mentioning, can Michael Norman do it? Maybe not this Olympics, but in a future Olympics. They changed the schedule for Michael Johnson. It shouldn't even be about that. There should be one standardized schedule that we stick to in track and field, and we should copy and paste it and use it every single time. And we don't need to add another 4x4. I love 4x4s. We don't need to add it, especially if it's getting in the way of history.
Well, I think we should throw out the idea of doubles altogether and just make Worlds.
You're only allowed to enter one event.
No, make it a 4-day meet the way it is at NCAAs, and then do it. Why is Worlds 10 days anyway? It should be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday event.
Well, because Olympics are 10 days. And the reason Olympics are 10 days is because it's a TV product.
Money maker.
So you stretch it out.
Well, make the Olympics long, but Worlds should be 4 days.
Well, because now
you can have a Diamond League final in a 2-hour period.
Yeah.
If you can have 2 Diamond League finals in 2 2-hour blocks, you can do Worlds in 4 days. If you can do NCAAs where they go from 24 to a champion in every event, you can do that at Worlds. You can find a way to go from 24 to 1.
But that's what Worlds is. Worlds is the first round of NCAAs combined with the final of NCAAs. Because NCAAs is really 8 days if you're talking about Sacramento or Florida and then advancing to the final, right? That's the first round technically. I'm fine
90,
with it.
They're taking 96. The first round is 96.
Yeah. Well, what's the first round in some of the sprint events at Worlds? It's pretty big. It's not like they're going straight to 16. I know. Well, I know that's a whole
lanes.
You're going with a radical proposal, which
I just think 24 people is enough.
You're a radical
person. Find 24 people in the world.
Look, I agree, but I'm saying at a bare minimum, if we're going to make it 10 days, I at least want to watch cool stuff for 10 days. That's what I want to see. I want to see the best people run in the event, right?
Do you know what they should do? We should do a They should do a protest. The fans need to come together, and during the mixed 4x4, they need to stand up and turn around and not watch it just to prove a point. Like, this is not track and field. This is just like fake races. It's not real.
Yeah. Again, if they want to put it the World Relays, I'm completely fine with it. If they want to put it,
it's fine.
At other relay meets and other relay carnivals, that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. But it should not be It should definitely
be at relay carnivals because it's a clown relay.
It
should be at relay carnivals.
Exactly. No, I mean, all right. One more story here. This one went viral, Gordon. It's rare for a track story to get so much traction. Yeah. And we have, sorry, my son is now in the background. Hey, bud, can you go out, please? All right. He's giving me a hug. All right. Go back out to mama, please. This is a good segue because we're talking about family here. Yeah. Gordon, why don't you go lead off on this story while I try to get my son to redirect into another room.
So, Usain Bolt and his girlfriend had a child, and her name is Olympias Lightning Bolt.
Olympia.
Olympia. Sorry. Olympia Lightning Bolt. Olympia Lightning Bolt. Great name. People say it's an all-time great name. I mean, middle name being Lightning, it's just like, that's what that's like, boom. You could name, her first name could be anything, but the fact that her middle name is Lightning and your last 2 names go Lightning Bolt, that's gotta love that. And this is the thing, though,
a lot of pressure, right?
This is such a good name that when she gets married, it's gonna be hard for that guy for her to take that name because she's got a good one. So you're gonna have for whoever her future husband is, he's really gonna have to one up that Lightning Bolt last name for her to be willing to change it for him. So I think she might keep this name forever, no matter who she marries, which is, but Olympia Lightning Bolt, It's a lot of Usain Bolt in that name, right?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of like the Olympic level of the
Yeah.
running, the lightning bolt because of his running. She's always gonna know who her dad is, no matter what, because of her first, middle, and last name.
Yeah. Just a ton of pressure too. Just a ton
Have
of
you ever
pressure. I know. What's up?
have you ever thought about naming your children something that like flows like that, or is it more just like we're gonna pick a name?
Well,
Like,
I
what's the
want to name my.
process of what you want to
I
name your
mean,
son originally?
well, he's good at interrupting, as you can see. So maybe it was something interrupting Sully. I'm not sure. No, I think it's what's crazy is the middle name overshadows the first name, and that's rare. How many other
Yeah,
people do you remember their middle name more than their first name? Because when I saw it, I glanced over the first name, and then I went right to Lightning. That's clever. And then I had to go back and think, oh, Olympia. Okay, well, you're right. It's an homage all the way through, all three parts. A lot of talk about how fast Olympia will be one day, but I still think because I don't know the athletic exploits of Usain Bolt's girlfriend Cassie Bennett, but I do know the athletic exploits of the Eatons, and I think their kid is still the favorite.
yeah. Also, there's a lot of pressure, like you said, for Olympia. I mean, what if she's like really into poetry
Yeah,
and
she
like
has the
ping
fastest
pong?
poetry out there. Yeah,
Just like really good at ping pong, poetry, and just non-movement type activities. But
yeah. No, it's
I can't wait to see her at the AAU Junior Olympic Games in like the
yeah.
age under 6, 100-meter final, going up against Chad Johnson's granddaughter. It's gonna be great.
I think Bolt would be a good sports dad because he'd be very relaxed. He'd say you always think of former athletes as being hard charging. Bolt would be like, man, just go to practice once or twice a week. That's what I did for a lot of my career, and it worked out fine for me. You'll be good.
Once or twice.
What?
And then I
Yeah,
then I was like, I'm not gonna practice at all for a year, and then I'm just gonna come back and then
yeah,
practice a little bit again. He
yeah,
takes off years seriously. Like he does not
yeah.
trade in off years. He's just like, I am done.
He like someone sends him the schedule. He's like, okay, well, guess I'm not showing up in 2010. See you guys next year. Yeah, best. Well, congrats to the new parents, Usain and Cassie, on the birth of Olympia Lightning Bolt. Man, it was right there, right in front of us the entire time. Do you have any other favorite or kids you're curious about how they'll develop? Obviously, Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf was one a while ago. Although their kids got to be pretty old now. I'm not sure in terms of the tennis exploits, but
I mean, the Goucher, right? Goucher's kid,
oh yeah, yeah,
Colt.
yeah.
He's getting older now,
Well,
right? Eventually,
yeah.
he's gonna start running. So it'll be interesting to see the. I don't know. The Halls don't have. Sarah Hall's never had a kid. They've only adopted kids, right?
They've
The
adopted,
Halls,
correct?
yeah, they've adopted.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure those two
Well,
genes together would make a fast child.
well, you're seeing it with Shane Culpepper and Alan Culpepper, right? With Cruz,
Yeah,
pretty
I mean, we
fast.
saw it with what's his name? Rainsberger. Katie Rainsberger was good.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to look at how old the Agassi Steffi Graf kid is. Child. Let's see. Let's see here.
This is great. This is
They
great
have two
content.
children. Here we
Googling.
go. Oh wait. Wow. Born 2001. Okay.
Ooh, they're old.
So
So they
yeah,
should start getting
they had
good.
they had a daughter in 2003. But they said they weren't going to push them towards playing any sports. So good for them. Good for them.
Well, I think you
Everybody,
should push your children though to play sports. You just shouldn't push them to be
tennis.
like. Well, you don't need to push them to like to only think about sports. Like I think every child needs a parent in their life who encourages them to try out for a football team, basketball team, soccer team, or whatever, and then see if they like it. And the first time they want to quit, you don't let them quit the first time. Second time they want to quit, you don't let them quit. Third time they want to quit, you let them quit. You got to like get through that little bit of the callous of like, but they didn't pick me, or like coach benched me, I give up. You're like, you got to like help them deal with immaturity to like keep them going. Because I'm sure for me, I think about like, I'm sure I came home being like, I hate this, I don't want to do it anymore. And my parents were like, no, you're still going to do it. And I did it. And then, I ended up falling in love with it. Right. So I think you need a little bit of parents being like, no, you can't quit. Or like you have to at least commit to one season and then you can quit in the summer type thing. But I get it though. It's a weird balance, right? Because you don't want to be the overbearing parent, but you also want to be the encouraging one. So, but I don't have to worry about that. You do. You have what? You have like 12 kids, right?
2. You have a lot of theories about parenting. If I didn't know any better, is there an announcement you want to make at the end of this episode?
No announcement at all.
Okay.
No announcement.
Okay, you'll let us know though. Okay. Yeah. The whole idea of resilience, right? Teaching them bounce back. Everything's not going to be perfect the first time you do it. You're not going to be great at everything. I do remember Bolt in his documentary is basically speaking like, yeah, if you're not good at it the first time, stick with it. But then if you're not good at it like the second time, then it's probably just not for you. Probably just move on. I mean, just he understands how talented he is, and he understands how much of this was nothing that anybody could replicate with all the work ethic in the world combined. And he was just like, yeah, if you're not gonna be the best in the world, what's the point? Let's just keep it moving. Let's keep going. Anyway, why don't can you do one more check of the headlines here just to make sure if
that's what I'm doing right now. I'm
okay.
Twitter searching the phrase Ivy League, and I have not found. I mean, there is a new thing going on. I mean, this is kind of political, but if your school is only online classes, they're not going to allow, the government's not going to allow international students to come because they're saying you only can come if you have in-person classes, which I think is a play for them to force schools to have in-person classes. But this could affect NCAA athletes who schools are online only, but they want to come back because they want to compete, right? So that would be an interesting thing if that. I mean, I think it's all. I mean, it's July 8th. I think everything's all talk, and they're gonna work it out. And by the time schools actually open in August, I think things will kind of be sorted out. But right now, we're kind of in the middle of the minefield of it. But that would be interesting if there's like, think about like what's a team like Arkansas, right? They have a bunch of Kenyan athletes, right? They're a team that could potentially win it if they all are healthy and in it at the same time. But imagine if Arkansas goes online only, and now Arkansas's team can't have any of their top, Kenyan transfers come in because they're an online only school. So I don't think that would happen. I do think worst comes to worst is that they'll make an exception that if you have a reason to be on campus, you're allowed to come, like if you're an NCAA athlete. But I think they're just all trying to write the rules as they create the rules, and I think they're going to end up writing it with a pencil and have to start erasing and changing it by the time we get to August 31st. Because no one's ever done this, right? We've never been in a pandemic. Right. We don't know what we're doing. We're all kind of going through this for the first time, so especially schools and governments and all that stuff. So anyway, but that would be interesting, right? If all of a sudden you look at your roster and you're like, thank God I don't have international athletes, because now all those teams with international athletes can't compete. It'll be wild, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. But
yeah, I mean, wild. it would be horrible. I mean, not just for we think of it from the running, well, from the sports context first, which obviously there's people who aren't involved in sports who it would impact, but think about all the other, not just track and field athletes, how many international athletes come for a variety of sports in the NCAA. Yeah. So sounds like you have some text messages to send out to your coaching friends throughout the country to figure out what's going on with that as well too. Maybe you'll have an update the next time you're on the show. I'm just teasing all your reporting that you're going to do.
Teasing reporting. Yeah.
Get on it, Gordon. Anyway.
But some coaches have texted me about how it might be just like legally they can't come back because of quarantine type stuff, or like, if you're from a certain country, because when this first started, they like blocked off travel from Europe for like a month. I'm not sure what all the travel changes are for this whole stuff, but there might still be like a quarantine travel hold on certain countries because of whatever, right?
Yeah.
So
All right.
it's all complicated, but
We'll leave it there. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com is the email address. You can find us on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts, FloTrack.org/FloTrack Podcast. Thanks to Alon for producing. Thanks to you, Gordon, for co-hosting. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
22 days away from the NBA season.